I'm a patient, but I'll tell you my story. Went in for an emergency appendectomy. What is it? How do you say it?
I think it's appendectomy.
Went in for emergency appendix.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Synergy Podcast. My name is Justin.
And my name is Emre.
Today we are going to be looking at comments for the question, what was the biggest mistake you made while operating on a patient, from the subreddit AskReddit.
This first comment says, I took a patient's foreskin and used it as a skin graft for his eyelid. The patient was forever cockeyed.
You think that's real?
Honestly, yeah, because I was thinking about it. Like, foreskin and eyelid skin is very similar.
It's sensitive skin, so the skin has to be similar in some way for you to like use it and it to not look really weird. Like, you're not going to use a piece of your like thigh for your eyelid.
Yeah, growing like weird hairs on,
Yeah,
on your
exactly.
eyelid. My grandfather's friend needed to have his leg amputated. Somewhere between him leaving the hospital bed to go into surgery and coming back out, someone had mislabeled the leg and they amputated the wrong leg. He went back into surgery 3 days later. He's very old and they were worried about him going under once, let alone twice, and they removed the other correct leg. This is one of those stories that I couldn't believe until I actually met the guy and realized he really does have both legs amputated.
You gotta really make sure there's no room for mistakes like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's a whole leg.
Again, yeah, I guess when the stakes are that high, you should really be triple, quadruple checking your work.
That's what I'm saying. Like, right before surgery, you can't just be running around like with labels in your hand, just like slapping it on whatever legs you see.
The next one says, my friend had their kneecap broken during surgery for a torn ACL. Apparently, they lightly tap on the kneecap, and the surgeon probably tapped it a little too hard, and it broke. They were on crutches for a couple years and still have a lot of knee problems now.
All right, so that's a lawsuit. For sure.
Oh, that's a really bad one. The kneecap's like super sensitive area because it's bending all the time. So imagine if you just keep it stiff for like however long and then you have to move it. Ooh.
This next comment says, I'm a patient, but I'll tell you my story. Went in for an emergency appendectomy. What is it? How do you say it?
I think it's appendectomy.
Went in for emergency appendix. Went in for an emergency appendectomy. I can't say that word. What is it?
Appendectomy.
Woke up and could never go number 2. Turns out the surgeon injured a nerve which caused my bowel to be paralyzed. I was on 5 laxatives a day for several years with no relief. My GI doctor told me I'd be lucky if I could one day go to the bathroom once a week.
Imagine being
That
on 5
sucks.
laxatives a day. I don't think that's...
For
I
a
don't think
year?
maintain that.
No, that's definitely not healthy.
This is also from a patient. Not a doctor, but the patient. I had a surgery and woke up with a broken nose and bruised arm, leg, and hip.
What?
Turns out they dropped me.
Oh my god! How?
That's
What were
crazy.
they
I'm
doing?
assuming
Transferring?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm assuming from the operating table. Aren't you hooked up to like anesthesia? And
Yeah,
other stuff?
you're. There's a lot of hookups, definitely.
They were like either unconnected or whatever, and they just like dropped. They dropped.
That's
Imagine
so
waking
bad.
up though for like something really small, like a minor surgery, but they put you under, like you're getting your tonsils out. You wake up and you're just bruised head to toe. They're like, "What happened?" Like, yeah,
It literally seems like.
we dropped you. They have to tell you the truth.
I mean, yeah, maybe because if you don't have
Maybe.
evidence, they're gonna be like,
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean you're bruised? Like,
once left a scalpel inside someone's chest, and then a follow-up says, not a surgeon or anything, just like stabbing people.
never heard of that before. That's probably the most dangerous thing. Is that even possible for them to? Did you? I mean, I need more context. Did they have to open them back up and find that?
Oh, there's no
way
more
they-
context. There's no
There's
more.
no way they left the scalpel.
Literally one sentence.
So also not a surgeon, I see a theme here. Not a surgeon, but working for pathology. An oncologist I met at the lab would tell me of these horror stories. We'll never forget about the time a nurse threw someone's donated organ transplant into a rubbish bin. Or when a man had the wrong leg cut off. Even crazier to me is throwing a donated organ transplant into the rubbish bin. Just because, alright, getting a leg cut off is already crazy enough, but like, if we're talking about like something like a heart, so hard to come by, like a good heart that will match with somebody. Imagine just throwing it into the garbage.
Yeah,
I
be
hope
careful,
it wasn't
folks.
like a heart. Leave the kidneys and livers alone.
Just put them in the fridge and put them in a bag, and they should be fine.
When I was in school, I had an instructor who took a job as the VP of patient care at a big American hospital. She said there was a patient who had been on the unit for a year and the hospital was footing the bill. When they told her why, it was just about the worst thing I've ever heard. He was in for brain surgery, and they had removed a large section of his skull to access the brain. They dropped it on the floor. They tried to clean it up, and they apparently gave him lots of post-op antibiotics, but he inevitably developed encephalitis or meningitis or, well, probably infection of the whole head. Not necessarily the surgeon who dropped it.
My jaws opened. Like, wow.
They dropped a piece of this dude's skull on the floor and then put it back on, and it gave him really bad infection.
Damn, they didn't like clean it? Was it like
Well,
time sensitive?
I guess they tried to clean it, but yeah, exactly. It's probably time sensitive. That's the whole thing. This guy's skull is off. There's only so long you can leave a person's skull off, I'm pretty sure. At least if it's like a certain size. I don't know.
I had a kidney operation when I was about a year or two old. The kind surgeon managed to stitch me up with a 2-centimeter long piece of tube still inside me. When they realized it, it was a bit too late. I was screened annually to see if the tube inside of me didn't cause any problems, which it did not for over a decade. Fast forward to me being 14 or 15, taking a piss and seeing something slowly slithering out of my My first thought was that it was a parasite of some sort, and I freaked the hell out. Doctors of the Reddit, please search your patient thoroughly before stitching them up. Thank you.
That is crazy.
That's like a kidney stone, but a tube.
Panic attack is what that sounds like.
Oh, yes.
Oh, if you're just, oh my lord, if you're just going to the bathroom and then a tube comes out of you, that's crazy.
Thinking it's a parasite. I would have thought it was a parasite too.
There would be nothing else you could really think. What else is that? I just like the term slithering. Med student, so I was just there to observe. Elderly lady with dementia in for above-the-knee amputation. After cutting through her tissue to expose her femur, the surgeon started with the bone saw and within a few seconds started cursing, and everyone around him seemed perplexed. Turns out the patient had a rod in her femur, and the surgeon did not know about. A few other surgeons came rushing in a few minutes later, and they all figured it out eventually with a mallet and lots of pounding. I had a lot of questions, but it was not in the right place to ask with all the tension in there. I guess it was a learning experience.
Ma'am, do you have any past medical surgeries that we should know about?
Nothing I could think of. Oh my lord. But
Like,
I mean, like,
wow.
don't they get her medical records? What? It was a long time ago. I worked for a law office as an administrative assistant. The office represented doctors who were going in front of a medical board to defend their licenses when they were accused of violating medical conduct. They were surgeons who routinely left items in their patients over and over again, who kept getting let off, a doc who was forging paperwork for parents to show that they provided services to their kids when they were never provided, which caused an outbreak of disease and resulted into innocent people dying. There were doctors who were using their medical knowledge to poison family members.
Oh
I obviously can't go into any detail, but that shit was terrifying. Most of them kept their licenses and faced no recourse besides losing a little money in a malpractice suit and getting their malpractice insurance raised and occasionally paying a fine to keep their license. There are a lot of good doctors out there. These were not them. Scary outcomes.
I'm so sad about that. Like, that just makes me sad.
Yeah, this is like referring to what you were saying though, like, you know, about how like a lot of doctors get let off and stuff, and this definitely points to that, you know, if you're working as a lawyer to like defend doctors who are doing bad things, and you can see how they're very much protected by definitely the legal system, by other doctors, hospitals, insurance companies, money in general.
Wow. I don't even know what to say because I'm just like so heartbroken that these doctors would literally do that on purpose.
They take an oath to do no harm, and sometimes they're still bad people. Forging paperwork and like letting a lot of people get sick and whatnot.
That's not a mistake. That
is intentionally malpractice.
Med student here. I was watching a knee operation when the surgeon suddenly stopped, looked towards the stab, absolutely shocked, and asked, "This is the wrong knee, isn't it?" Basically, he was told to operate the wrong knee, and halfway through, he realized it was too good-looking to be the knee that needed the operation. Luckily, there was no permanent damage done, and the team reknit everything together and scheduled the surgery.
Even though it was a mistake, I would, if this happened to me personally, and he like restitched me and everything, and told me what happened, I would be like, you know what, it's all good.
It's all good, doc. Alright, so this last comment here says, this is probably my favorite, by the way. Simulator surgeon here. I was opening up the rib cage with a hammer for a heart transplant, but ended up dropping it in there. Ended up dropping in my bone saw too. They bled out not too long after that, and I had to try again.
Oh my. It's like the hammer, it's like, okay, you just reach in, maybe grab the hammer, but the bone saw, is it on? Like, it's already on.
Yeah, no, they're dead.
Dude, this makes me want to be a simulator surgeon.
That's all we have for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Catch us every Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll see you next time.